Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. She left town to forget him and became his neighbor in disguise. It seems like fate has a way of playing tricks, doesn't it? Lily had spent months planning her escape, packing her life into a suitcase and leaving behind the memories of a man who had broken her heart. She needed a fresh start, a place where no one knew her, where she could finally move on. That's why she moved to the quiet, unassuming town of Evergreen Hills, a place that promised peace and anonymity. But Lily never expected that her new life would bring her face to face with the very person she had been running from. She found a small house nestled in a cul-de-sac on the edge of town, far away from the bustling city life that had once been her prison. The rent was affordable, the neighborhood was peaceful, and most importantly, no one knew her past. It was perfect. It wasn't until she'd settled in, unpacked the last of her boxes, and started getting to know the neighbors that the truth hit her like a ton of bricks. The house next door was sold to none other than Alex. The same Alex who had broken her heart. The same Alex who had left her wondering what went wrong. He was now living just a few steps away from her, and he had no idea that she was his new neighbor. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw him unloading boxes from a moving truck, looking just as handsome as ever. He didn't notice her at first, and for a brief moment, Lily wondered if it was a sign. Maybe this was her chance to finally get closure, to see him one last time, without the weight of emotions dragging her down. But as he turned around, his eyes met hers, and for a split second, she saw that same recognition in his face. The same flash of confusion, followed by the unmistakable look of a man who had no idea why his heart was racing. It was too late to hide now. Lily didn't know what to do. Should she run back inside and pretend she hadn't seen him? Or should she walk over and pretend she was just another neighbor? She stood there frozen, her mind racing with a million thoughts. She hadn't expected this. Not like this. Not so soon. Alex gave a half-smile, his voice breaking the silence. "Lily," he asked, his tone laced with uncertainty. "Is that really you?" Lily nodded slowly, her throat tight. "Yeah, it's me," she said, trying to sound casual, trying to hide the nervousness in her voice. "It's been a while, huh?" "Yeah," he said, running a hand through his hair. "I didn't know you lived here." She forced a smile, feeling the weight of his gaze. "I moved here a few weeks ago," she said, trying to keep things light. "Just needed a change of scenery." The words felt like a lie, but she didn't know how to explain. She wasn't here for a change of scenery. She was here to forget him, to leave behind the pain he had caused her. But standing in front of him, seeing that familiar face, all the feelings she had buried deep inside came rushing back. Alex seemed to sense her discomfort, his smile faltering. "I guess we're neighbors now," he said, breaking the silence. "Yeah, looks like it," Lily replied, her voice shaky. He seemed to hesitate for a moment, as if he wanted to say something more, but the words never came. Instead, he turned back to his moving boxes and muttered something about getting back to work. Lily watched him for a moment longer, feeling her heart pounding in her chest. It was like everything had come full circle. She had run away from him, but now he was here, just a few steps away, and there was nowhere to hide. As she walked back to her house, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that this was the beginning of something she wasn't ready for. She had come here to escape, but now her past was right in front of her, staring her down. And no matter how hard she tried to run, it seemed like fate had other plans. The days passed by, and Lily tried to pretend that the encounter with Alex had been a one-off moment, something that could be easily forgotten. She focused on her new life, throwing herself into her work and the small community she had started to settle into. But the more time she spent in the quiet town of Evergreen Hills, the more she realized that she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Or perhaps it was the memory of Alex that refused to let go. Every time she left her house, she would catch glimpses of him, his tall figure moving around his yard, his car parked in the driveway, his smile that seemed just a little too familiar. It wasn't that she was actively seeking him out, but it seemed like the universe was reminding her that no matter how far she ran, Alex was still right there, a constant presence in the background of her new life. One evening, Lily was heading to the local grocery store when she saw him again. This time, it was at the corner of Main Street, just outside the small cafe where she liked to grab coffee. He was standing there, talking to a neighbor, and for the briefest moment, their eyes met. Lily froze, feeling a surge of panic rise in her chest. She quickly looked away, pretending she hadn't seen him, and walked a little faster, hoping he wouldn't recognize her. But it was too late. Alex, always perceptive, was already walking toward her, his long strides closing the distance between them before she had a chance to escape. "Lily," he called out, his voice warm but tinged with an uncertainty she hadn't heard before. "I didn't expect to run into you here. How's everything going?" His tone was casual, as if nothing had ever happened between them, as if they hadn't shared a history filled with love and heartbreak. Lily forced a smile, her heart racing. "Everything's fine," she said, her voice a little too sharp. "Just getting some groceries." She looked down at the bag in her hand, willing her nerves to settle. It was getting harder to keep up the pretense of indifference. Alex studied her for a moment, his gaze soft but probing. "I didn't expect you to be in town for long," he said, his voice gentle. I thought you were leaving for good." His words hit her like a punch in the gut, and for a split second, she almost blurted out the truth. Almost told him that she had left because of him, because of the way he had hurt her. But she stopped herself just in time. "I needed a change," Lily replied, her voice trembling slightly. "You know how it is. Sometimes you just need to start fresh." She met his eyes briefly, trying to keep her emotions in check. But Alex wasn't fooled. He could see through the walls she was trying to build around herself. He stepped a little closer, his gaze never leaving hers. "I know it wasn't easy for you," he said quietly, his words like a whisper in the cold evening air. "I never meant to hurt you, Lily. I've regretted everything that happened between us." His words, though sincere, made her stomach churn. She had heard them before, too many times. "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want you to know that I'm sorry. Truly sorry." Lily felt a pang of emotion, a mixture of anger and sorrow. She had spent so much time trying to move on, trying to forget him, and here he was, standing right in front of her, reminding her of everything she had lost. The truth was, part of her still cared for him, still longed for the life they had almost built together. But the other part of her, the part that had learned to survive without him, wanted to run far away from him again. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to keep her composure. "It's in the past now, Alex," she said, her voice steady but cold. "I've moved on. We both have. It's time to let it go." She turned her back to him, not trusting herself to say anything more. But before she could take another step, Alex reached out and gently touched her arm. The simple contact sent a jolt of electricity through her, making her heart race once more. "I'm not asking for things to go back to how they were," he said softly. "I just want you to know that if you ever need anything, if you ever want to talk, I'm here. I still care about you, Lily." His words were soft, and there was no mistaking the sincerity in his voice. Lily stood frozen for a moment, feeling the weight of his touch on her arm. She wanted to pull away, to tell him that it was too late, that she couldn't let him back into her life. But something inside her made her hesitate. Maybe it was the longing in his eyes. Maybe it was the hope in his voice. Or maybe it was the simple fact that he had always known how to get under her skin. She didn't say anything. Instead, she turned and walked away, her steps hurried but deliberate. She didn't know what she was running from anymore. Maybe she was running from him. Maybe she was running from herself. As she reached the corner of the street, she glanced back once, half expecting to see him following her. But Alex was still standing there, watching her with an unreadable expression on his face. And in that moment, Lily realized that no matter how much she tried to escape him, no matter how many times she told herself she was done with him, Alex was always going to be a part of her life, whether she liked it or not. It had been a few days since Lily's encounter with Alex, and she couldn't stop thinking about it. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his face, soft, apologetic, yet somehow still so familiar. It was as if no time had passed at all. She had tried to push the thoughts away, focusing on her work, keeping herself busy, but every corner of the town reminded her of him. Every street, every cafe, every little shop seemed to carry a trace of their past. That afternoon, Lily found herself walking down Main Street, her thoughts drifting as she passed the familiar places she had come to know. She wasn't looking for anything in particular, but her feet led her to the small park at the end of the road. It was quiet there, a peaceful haven amidst the bustling town, and she often came here to think. Today, though, it felt different. As she reached the park bench she usually sat on, she froze. Alex was there, sitting on the same bench, looking out at the pond as the sunlight danced across the water. He looked so serene, so lost in thought, and for a moment, Lily wondered if she should just turn around and leave. But something stopped her. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the part of her that was still holding on to the hope that things could be different. Whatever it was, she found herself walking toward him. "Alex," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. He turned around, surprise flashing in his eyes, followed by a familiar warmth. His lips curled into a small, almost hesitant smile as he stood up to greet her. "Lily," he said, his voice low and steady. "I didn't expect to see you here." He paused, taking a step forward. "I know I probably shouldn't be here, but I wanted to talk to you. I know I hurt you, and I don't expect anything from you. I just need you to know that I'm sorry. Truly." His words hung in the air, heavy and sincere. Lily felt a wave of emotion wash over her, but she held it in check, taking a deep breath before speaking. "I know you're sorry, Alex," she said, her voice steady. "But it's not just about that. It's about everything. You left, and I was left to pick up the pieces. I can't just forget what happened between us." She shook her head, fighting the tears that were threatening to spill. "I've spent so long trying to move on. I don't know if I can go back to who we were." Alex's face softened, his expression filled with regret. "I understand," he said quietly. "I know I can't change the past, but I can try to make things right. I just need you to know that I still care about you. And I know that what we had wasn't perfect, but it was real. And I don't want to lose that." He stepped closer, his gaze never leaving hers. Lily swallowed, her heart pounding in her chest. She could feel the old feelings stirring inside her, the longing, the ache that she thought she had buried so deep. For a moment, she wondered if it was possible to forgive him, to start fresh. But then reality hit her, and she pulled back, taking a step away from him. "I don't know, Alex," she said, her voice trembling. "I don't know if I can trust you again." She shook her head, the pain of their past still too raw. "I can't keep doing this, running in circles. I need to figure things out on my own." He nodded slowly, his eyes filled with understanding. "I get it," he said quietly. "I'm not asking you to forgive me right away. I just want a chance to show you that I've changed, that I'm not the person I was before." He paused, then added, "I won't give up on us, Lily. Not without a fight." The words hung in the air, heavy and uncertain. Lily stood there, torn between the past and the present, her heart at war with itself. She wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that they could find their way back to each other. But the fear of being hurt again held her back. She wasn't sure if she was ready to take that step. After a long pause, she finally spoke. "I need time, Alex," she said softly. "I need time to think. Please, just give me that." Alex nodded, his face filled with both relief and sadness. "I'll give you as much time as you need," he said gently. "I'll be here whenever you're ready." Lily turned and walked away, her heart heavy with uncertainty. She didn't know what the future held or if she would ever be able to forgive him. But as she walked, she realized one thing. She wasn't sure if she could ever forget him. Days passed, and Lily tried to push the thoughts of Alex to the back of her mind. She kept herself busy with work, settling into her new life in Evergreen Hills, but every time she saw a glimpse of him, whether it was in town or on her walks, it was like a reminder that no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't escape him. She couldn't escape the feelings that were still there, lingering under the surface. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Lily found herself walking to the small cafe near the park. She hadn't planned to go there, but something about the quiet streets and the fading daylight made her feel like it was the right time to clear her mind. As she walked past the window of the cafe, she paused for a moment and saw a familiar figure sitting at a corner table. It was Alex. Her heart skipped a beat. He was sitting alone, his face unreadable as he stared out the window, lost in thought. For a moment, Lily considered walking away, avoiding him just like she had done every time they had crossed paths. But something stopped her. Maybe it was the way he looked so vulnerable, so distant from the confident man she once knew. Maybe it was the way he had asked for a second chance the other day. Or maybe, deep down, she still cared. She took a deep breath and walked inside, her footsteps hesitant as she made her way to the counter. As soon as Alex saw her, he looked up, his eyes lighting up with a mixture of surprise and relief. "Lily," he said, his voice softer than she remembered. "I didn't expect to see you here." He stood up slowly, his hand resting on the back of his chair as he looked at her with an almost hopeful expression. Lily hesitated for a moment, her nerves tightening, but she forced herself to smile. "I wasn't planning on it," she said, trying to sound casual. "Just thought I'd stop by." She moved to the counter and ordered her coffee, giving him the space he needed to process the moment. She could feel his gaze on her, and she couldn't help but wonder if he was still holding on to the same hope he had expressed before. After a moment, Alex stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "Lily," he began, his tone serious. "I know I've asked for a lot, and I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable, but I need you to know something. I've changed. I'm not the man I was when we were together. I've spent the last few months realizing how much I hurt you, and I've been trying to make amends in every way I can." His eyes were steady, sincere, as he spoke, and Lily could see the genuine regret in his expression. For a moment, Lily said nothing. She felt a rush of emotions, a mix of anger, confusion, and something else, a small flicker of hope. She had spent so much time telling herself that she didn't need him, that she could move on without him. But now, standing here, she wasn't so sure. "I'm not asking you to forgive me right away," Alex continued, his voice steady but earnest. "I just want to prove to you that I'm not the same person who walked away from you. I know it's going to take time, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes." He took a step closer, his gaze softening. "All I'm asking for is a chance to show you that I'm not just words. I want to show you actions." Lily felt a lump form in her throat. She wanted to say something, to respond, but the words didn't come. Instead, she took a deep breath and finally spoke. "I don't know, Alex," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I don't know if I can trust you again. You hurt me, and it's not something I can just forget." She shook her head, feeling the weight of the past settle on her shoulders once more. "I don't know if I'm ready to take that step again." Alex's face fell for a moment, his hope dimming as her words sank in. But then, he nodded slowly, his expression one of understanding. "I know," he said softly. "I don't expect you to be ready right now, but I'll wait, Lily. I'll wait as long as it takes." He paused, looking at her with an intensity that made her heart race. "Just know that I'm here, and when you're ready, I'll be waiting." Lily looked away for a moment, her eyes locking on the cup of coffee in front of her. She wasn't sure what to say next, but she knew one thing for sure. She wasn't ready to forgive him. Not yet. Maybe she never would be. But as she looked back at Alex, she saw something in his eyes, a vulnerability that hadn't been there before. And for the first time since their encounter, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, he was telling the truth. She stood up, her mind swirling with 1,000 thoughts. "I have to go," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. I'll think about what you said." Without waiting for his response, she turned and walked out of the cafe, leaving Alex behind, but carrying his words with her as she stepped out into the evening air. As she walked down the street, Lily couldn't help but feel the weight of the decision she would soon have to make. And deep down, she knew that the story between her and Alex was far from over. It had been a week since Lily's last conversation with Alex, and while she tried to focus on her life, the lingering weight of his words wouldn't leave her. Every time she walked through the town or saw a familiar face, she couldn't help but wonder about him, about whether he really had changed or if he was just saying what she wanted to hear. She had spent so much time avoiding him, convincing herself that she was stronger than this, that she didn't need him. But the truth was, she still cared, and that scared her more than anything. One afternoon, Lily found herself at the park again, the same spot where she had first run into Alex a few days ago. The sun was setting, casting an orange glow across the sky, and the quiet of the park made her feel like she could finally breathe. As she sat on the familiar bench, she closed her eyes, letting the peace of the moment wash over her. But it didn't last long. She heard footsteps approaching, slow but deliberate. Her heart skipped a beat, and before she could react, she heard his voice. "Lily." Alex's voice was soft, almost hesitant. "Can we talk?" She opened her eyes and saw him standing in front of her, looking more vulnerable than she had ever seen him. His expression was serious, but there was a gentleness in his eyes that made her stomach flutter. She didn't say anything at first. She just stared at him, unsure of how to respond. Was this the moment she'd been waiting for? The moment he would finally prove that he truly meant what he said? Or was this just another attempt to pull her back into his world? Alex seemed to sense her hesitation, and he sat down beside her without asking. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the rustling of leaves in the breeze, and the distant chatter of people enjoying the park. Finally, Alex broke the silence. "I know I've hurt you, Lily," he said quietly, "and I know that words alone won't fix anything. But I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about the past, about us. I realize now that I was too selfish. I was focused on what I wanted, and I never truly understood how much I was hurting you." Lily felt a lump form in her throat, but she fought it back. She didn't want to give him the satisfaction of seeing her cry. Instead, she folded her arms across her chest, trying to keep herself grounded. "I've made a lot of mistakes," Alex continued, his voice full of regret. "And I'm not asking for your forgiveness right now. But what I want to say is this: I've changed. I'm not the same person I was when we were together. And if you'll let me, I want to show you that." His words were sincere, and Lily could see the pain in his eyes. But despite the sincerity, a small voice inside her kept reminding her of everything she had been through. Could she really forgive him? Could she trust him again? She wasn't sure. She looked down at her hands, twisting the fabric of her jacket nervously. The silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken words. "I don't know, Alex," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I want to believe you, I really do. But it's not that easy. You can't just expect me to forget everything that happened." Her voice cracked slightly, but she quickly regained her composure. "I need time. I need to figure out what I want." Alex nodded, his eyes filled with understanding. "I know," he said quietly. "I'm not rushing you. I just wanted you to know that I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." He paused, as if considering his next words carefully. "And if you ever decide that you want to give us a chance again, I'll be ready." Lily felt a heavy sigh escape her lips. She had been holding her breath for so long, and now it was all coming to a head. She wasn't sure if she could ever move past the hurt, but for the first time in a long time, she was willing to entertain the possibility. She looked up at him, her gaze steady. "I don't know what the future holds, Alex," she said, her voice steady now. "But I'll think about what you said. I need some time to figure things out." Alex gave her a small smile, and for the first time, she saw a glimpse of the man she used to love, the man who was kind, thoughtful, and genuine. "I'll be waiting," he said softly, his voice full of hope. "Whenever you're ready." Lily stood up from the bench, her legs feeling a little unsteady as she turned to leave. "I'll see you around," she said, trying to sound casual, but her heart was anything but calm. As she walked away, she could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on her. She didn't know where this would lead, or if she would ever be able to let go of the past. But for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for them again. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, Lily walked through the park, unsure of what the future held, but more certain than ever that she wasn't quite ready to say goodbye to Alex just yet. Days passed, and Lily found herself caught in a whirlwind of emotions. She hadn't expected Alex's words to affect her this much, and every time she tried to focus on her work or her new life in Evergreen Hills, her thoughts kept drifting back to him. The more time that passed, the more she realized that she couldn't keep running from him or the feelings she still had. She wanted to believe that he had changed, but trust wasn't something that could be rebuilt overnight. She needed more time. It was a Saturday morning when Lily ran into him again. She was walking to the local farmer's market, enjoying the quiet of the morning and the crisp fall air. As she turned a corner, she saw Alex across the street. He was standing outside a small bookstore, talking to the owner, a friendly older man who had always greeted Lily with a smile when she visited. Alex's face lit up when he saw her, and for a brief moment, it felt like no time had passed at all. But Lily's heart still raced. She stopped in her tracks, unsure of what to do. Alex didn't hesitate. He crossed the street toward her, his pace quickening as if he'd been waiting for this moment. Lily couldn't tell if it was excitement or anxiety that made her feel so uncertain, but she didn't move. When Alex was close enough, he smiled at her, his eyes warm, but there was an uncertainty in his expression. It was as though he wasn't sure how she would react. "Lily," he said softly, his voice low. "I didn't expect to run into you today, but I'm glad I did." His smile was tentative, but there was a sincerity in his eyes that made her heart flutter. "How have you been?" he asked, as though they were picking up where they left off, as if nothing had happened between them. Lily hesitated for a moment, not knowing what to say. She could tell that Alex was trying to be careful, trying to gauge her mood, but the tension between them was palpable. Finally, she spoke, her voice steady but unsure. "I've been doing all right," she said, offering a small smile. "Just busy with work, trying to get settled in." She paused, feeling the weight of his gaze. "What about you?" Alex seemed to relax a little at her response, his shoulders loosening as he ran a hand through his hair. "I've been all right too," he said, a small laugh escaping his lips. "Busy with work, but same old routine." He glanced at her, a little more seriously now. "I've been thinking about what you said the other day, Lily," he continued, his tone more earnest. "And I want to make things right. I don't want to push you, but I just need you to know that I'm here. Whatever you need, I'm here." Lily felt her heart tighten at his words. She could hear the sincerity in his voice, but she wasn't sure if she was ready to let him back into her life. The past still felt so fresh, the hurt so raw. But as she looked into his eyes, she saw something different. It wasn't just the man who had walked away from her. It was someone who was willing to fight for what they had lost. "I don't know, Alex," Lily said, her voice softer this time. "I want to believe you. I really do. But it's hard to just forget everything. I don't know if I can trust you again." Alex nodded slowly, his face falling for a moment. But then he stepped closer, his voice low and sincere. "I understand," he said quietly. "I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking for a chance. Just a chance to prove to you that I'm not the same person I was before. I've changed, Lily, and I'll prove it to you, if you'll let me." There was something in his eyes, something so raw and vulnerable, that made Lily's heart ache. She had never seen him like this before. It was as if the walls he had built around himself had come crashing down. For the first time, she saw the man behind the CEO, the man who had always been so guarded, and it made her question everything. She stood there for a long moment, the world around them seeming to fade away as she considered his words. Could she trust him again? Was she ready to open her heart to the possibility of love, even after everything that had happened? Finally, Lily spoke, her voice quiet but steady. "I need time, Alex," she said softly. "I can't promise anything right now, but I'll think about what you said. I just need time." Alex looked at her with a mix of understanding and hope in his eyes. He didn't say anything at first, but his gaze softened. "I'll give you all the time you need," he said gently. "Just know that I'm here, Lily. Whenever you're ready." Lily nodded, feeling the weight of the decision ahead of her. As she turned to walk away, she couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for them. But for now, she needed to take it one step at a time. As she walked down the street, her mind raced with thoughts of what the future could hold. She didn't know if she could truly forgive him, or if they could ever go back to what they once had. But she knew that, for the first time in a long while, she was willing to give herself the chance to find out. And as the afternoon sun bathed the town in its golden light, Lily allowed herself to imagine a future where she and Alex might find their way back to each other. But only time would tell. Weeks went by, and Lily found herself in the same routine. She had been keeping her distance from Alex, but the weight of the unspoken tension between them was becoming too much to bear. Every time she saw him from across the street, or caught a glimpse of him through her window, her heart would race. He was always polite, always giving her space, but she could feel his gaze on her, and every time they crossed paths, she could see the silent longing in his eyes. It wasn't just him that was struggling with the past. She was too. One rainy afternoon, Lily decided to take a walk through the town, needing some fresh air to clear her head. The drizzle was light, just enough to dampen her hair and the tips of her shoes. As she walked through the park, she noticed Alex sitting on a bench under the shelter, reading a book. It was one of those moments where time seemed to slow down, where the world around her faded, and she found herself frozen in place. Alex hadn't noticed her yet, but she had seen him, and for a moment, she considered turning around, walking in the opposite direction, but something stopped her. Maybe it was the way he looked so at peace, or the fact that she hadn't seen him in weeks, but she found herself walking toward him. Slowly, cautiously. When she got closer, Alex looked up from his book, his eyes brightening as soon as they met hers. His face softened, and a small, almost hesitant smile tugged at his lips. Lily, he said, his voice carrying a warmth she hadn't expected. It's good to see you. He set the book aside, sitting up a little straighter. I didn't think you'd come by today. Lily nodded, standing just a little too far away, unsure of what to say. The words caught in her throat, and for a brief moment, she wished she could take back everything she had said before. I wasn't planning on it, Lily replied, her voice slightly shaky. But I thought maybe it was time to talk. She hesitated, feeling vulnerable in the open space. About everything. Alex's expression softened even more. He patted the seat next to him, silently inviting her to sit, and after a moment of consideration, Lily slowly walked over and sat down beside him. The distance between them, though small, felt huge. For a long while, neither of them spoke. The rain was falling softly around them, the only sound the occasional rustle of leaves in the breeze. Finally, it was Alex who broke the silence. Lily, he began, his voice quiet but sincere. I know I hurt you. I know that nothing I say can undo what happened between us. But I want you to know that I've thought about it every single day. I've thought about how I let you go, how I wasn't there when you needed me, and how much I regret that. His words were soft, but there was a conviction in them that she hadn't heard before. I've changed, Lily. And I will keep changing, because I know what it's like to lose something so important. I can't undo the past, but I want a chance to make the future different. Lily sat quietly, listening to every word he said. The way his voice shook with emotion made her heart ache. She had spent so much time convincing herself that she didn't need him, that she had moved on, but the truth was much harder to face. She still cared, and hearing his words, seeing the vulnerability in his eyes, made her question everything she thought she knew. She turned to look at him, her voice barely above a whisper. I want to believe you, Alex, she said softly. I really do. But I can't pretend that the past didn't happen. I can't just forget the hurt and move on. It's not that simple. Alex nodded, understanding the weight of her words. His eyes were steady as he looked at her. I know, he said quietly. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking for a chance. Just one chance to prove that I'm not the same person I was before. To show you that I can be the man you deserve. Lily's heart skipped a beat. She had spent so long building walls around herself, telling herself that she didn't need anyone, least of all Alex. But the truth was, she had missed him, and the possibility of a future with him was too tempting to ignore. She took a deep breath, the rain beginning to fall heavier around them. It wasn't perfect. Nothing about their situation was. But maybe, just maybe, it was worth giving a chance to. All right, Lily said, her voice steady. One chance. Alex's face lit up, his smile genuine and full of relief. Thank you, he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. You won't regret it. I promise. And for the first time in a long while, Lily allowed herself to believe him. Maybe the future was uncertain, but they had both taken the first step. And that, for now, was enough. As they sat together in the rain, Lily realized that sometimes the hardest thing to do was to let go of the past. But with Alex by her side, maybe she could find the courage to move forward. Weeks passed, and with each day Lily found herself growing more comfortable with the idea of giving Alex a chance. Their conversations had become easier, their time together more frequent, and the distance between them, both physical and emotional, had started to shrink. They went on walks together, shared meals, and laughed over old memories. For the first time in a long time, Lily felt like she was beginning to open up again, letting go of the walls she had so carefully built around herself. But even as they grew closer, there was still a lingering doubt in the back of Lily's mind. Could she truly forgive him? Could she fully trust him again after everything they had been through? She didn't have all the answers, but every time she looked at Alex, she saw the man he was now. The man who had taken responsibility for his past mistakes. The man who was doing everything he could to make things right. One evening, Alex invited Lily to a small dinner party at his house. It wasn't anything fancy, just a few close friends, a quiet evening, and some homemade food. As they sat together, enjoying the warmth of the meal and the light conversation, Lily couldn't help but notice how different things felt now. There was a sense of ease between them, a familiarity that had once felt impossible. It was in the way Alex's hand would brush against hers, or how he would glance at her when he thought she wasn't looking. It was in the way he smiled, as though everything was right in the world again. Later in the evening, as they stood by the fireplace, Alex turned to her with a soft smile on his face. "Lily," he said quietly, his voice steady but full of emotion. "I know this is a lot. I know that I hurt you, and that I'm asking for a lot by even being here with you. But I need you to know something." He paused for a moment, his gaze meeting hers. He took a deep breath before continuing, his voice full of sincerity. "I don't want to waste any more time. I want you to know that I'm ready for whatever comes next. I don't want to be the person I was before, but I also know that I can't ask you to trust me overnight. What I can promise is that I'll be here. I'll be patient, I'll do whatever it takes to prove that I can be the man you need me to be." His words hung in the air between them, filled with hope and vulnerability. Lily stood there for a moment, her heart racing as she processed his words. She had been so afraid of this moment, the moment when she would have to decide if she could truly move forward with him. But looking at Alex, she realized that she already knew the answer. She didn't have to have everything figured out, and she didn't have to forget the past. What mattered was that they were here, together, and that they were both willing to try. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she spoke, her voice soft but steady. "I'm not ready for all the answers yet, Alex," she said, her eyes meeting his. "But I'm willing to give this a chance. I'm willing to see where it goes. One step at a time." Alex's expression softened, his eyes filling with relief and something else, something deeper. He took her hand gently in his, squeezing it lightly as though making a promise without words. "One step at a time," he repeated quietly, his voice full of emotion. And in that moment, Lily felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She didn't have to rush into anything. She didn't have to have all the answers right now. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she was on the right path, her path. And whether it was with Alex or on her own, she knew that she had taken the most important step, the step toward healing, toward trusting again, and toward allowing herself the possibility of love. As they stood there, in the warmth of the firelight, the world seemed to fade away, and for a brief moment, it was just the two of them. And in that silence, they both knew that the future was uncertain, but the journey ahead would be worth it. The days following that evening felt like a new beginning for Lily and Alex. They had agreed to take things one step at a time, and although the journey ahead was uncertain, there was a shared understanding between them. They had both been hurt, but they had also learned, grown, and were now ready to move forward together. It wasn't going to be easy, nothing worthwhile ever is, but they were willing to put in the effort. As the weeks passed, their relationship blossomed. It wasn't the same as it once was, but that was okay. It was better. They were no longer trying to recreate what had been. Instead, they were building something new, something stronger. They spent more time together, getting to know each other in ways they never had before. They laughed over shared meals, enjoyed long walks through the park, and had quiet evenings talking about their hopes for the future. One afternoon, Alex took Lily to a small art gallery on the outskirts of town. It was a place Lily had always loved, but she had never visited with anyone else. As they wandered through the exhibit, Alex stopped in front of a painting that caught his eye, a landscape of the town with vibrant colors swirling in the sky. "I've always loved this one," he said, his voice soft. "It reminds me of the way I feel now, like everything is coming together, piece by piece." He turned to her, his eyes searching hers. "It's not perfect, but it's beautiful in its own way, just like us." Lily smiled, her heart swelling at his words. She had never thought of their relationship in that way, but now that he had said it, she could see it too. It wasn't perfect, no relationship ever was, but it was real, and it was theirs. As they stood there, side by side, Lily felt a sense of peace wash over her. The past no longer felt like a weight holding her down. She could still remember the pain, the heartache, but it didn't define her anymore. She had moved forward, and so had Alex. They were writing a new chapter of their story, and she was ready to see where it would lead. Later that evening, as they sat on the porch of Alex's house, watching the sun set over the horizon, Alex turned to her with a serious expression. "Lily," he said, his voice quiet, "I know we've been taking it slow, and I'm not rushing anything, but I need you to know something. I want this. I want us." He reached for her hand, holding it gently in his. "I know I messed up, but I believe in what we have now, and I want to keep building it, together." Lily looked at him, her heart racing. The sincerity in his eyes, the gentleness in his touch. It was everything she had wanted to hear. But more than that, She realized that she felt the same way. She didn't need grand gestures or promises of forever. She just needed to know that they were in this together, one step at a time. She squeezed his hand, her smile soft but full of meaning. "I want this too, Alex," she said, her voice steady. "I'm ready. Ready to build something real with you." In that moment, with the sun setting behind them and the world quiet around them, it felt like everything had finally come full circle. The road to get here had been long, and at times, it had been difficult, but it had led them to this place, a place of understanding, trust, and the possibility of love. As they sat there, watching the sky turn dark, Lily felt a sense of calm she hadn't known in years. She didn't have all the answers, but for the first time, she felt ready to face whatever came next, as long as she was with Alex. And with that, their journey continued, one step at a time, together.